KFAN.
Get ready for great women's soccer when Minnesota Aurora returns for their home opener on May 21st at 7 p.m. at TCO Stadium in Eagan. Tickets for all games are on sale now at mnaurora.com. You can sign up to win tickets to the home opener right now on the contest page at KFAN.com.
You can listen to the Power Trip Morning Show right now if you want. Right? You can listen to the podcast. You're probably just dying to. Even if you heard them already. Once just isn't enough. Timmy, I thought we might take a few minutes previewing the upcoming Western Conference semifinal between the Dallas Stars and the Colorado Avalanche. Who do you like? That was a Freudian slip, or would be a Fraudian slip in the case of Mark Rosen.
Brilliant!
What makes I'm eating my lunch. That's why we decided to do this now. Every segment is dictated on lunch. Let me ask you a question.
I love when you ask me questions that you could not give 2 cents about.
Well, but I think the audience cares. I mean, if I just talked about things, there's a lot of things I talk about that but I have to. I mean, I don't care about the Twins, but I have to. Wolves, Stars, Wild. But let me ask you, what makes the Lanch so good? What is it about the Lanch?
Well, I mean, they have two of the arguably three best players in all of the National Hockey League.
Who are they?
Nathan McKinnon and Cale Makar. Nathan McKinnon's a center. He had 127 points this year, 53 goals, 74 assists. He is lightning speed, but also has some power behind it. He's dynamic on the rush, but he's also great in kind of like that one-timer spot on the power play. He's fantastic. Cale Makar, I think many would argue, is the best defenseman in all of hockey.
Then he would have to be one of the top 5 players of all time, according to Pat Micheletti, because he thinks Hughes, Quinnesota, is a top 5 player all time. So this guy, if he's the best defenseman...
You could argue by the end of his career that Cale Makar might be the best defenseman. I never saw Bobby Orr play. But definitely of this generation. He's still young. So you have two just absolute studs and at important positions, right? You got your top defenseman and your top center. But they also have some depth down the middle. Brock Nelson, who's one of us from Moore Road, is someone that the Wild were interested in before last trade deadline. And we're hoping to sign him in free agency last summer, and he opted to go back to Colorado. They also acquired Nazem Kadri. They reacquired him. He once was playing for Colorado, then was up in Calgary. So you have three and I know Kadri hasn't been playing center the whole time since he's been there. He's been playing with McKinnon, but potentially, up the middle, 1, 2, 3 at center, you're about as good as it gets. People always point at Colorado, hey, their weakness is going to be their goaltending, but this year it has not been. Scott Wedgwood, 2.02 goals against average, 921 save percentage. I think there's still some that think, well, he'll fall apart in the playoffs, but the knock on Colorado is they have so much money invested in guys like McKinnon and Makar and even Landeskog that they're not going to be able to afford. That's why they couldn't afford Rantanen, who's now in Dallas. But they
had Rantanen at one time?
Yes, Rantanen was with that group. I think they ran into some contractual problems, so they ended up trading him, I think, to Carolina, and then he moved down to Dallas. So yeah, I mean, they are also our former Wild player Brent Burns, who's at the very end of his career.
Yeah, he's been around.
Not quite the number one defenseman he once was, but still a quality defenseman who can score a little bit, and obviously he's got huge size, and which fits him well for playoff style hockey. So they are. I haven't even mentioned Nichas, who's almost scored 40 goals this season. Yeah, they're pretty good. They have high end star power. They've added some depth, and when they get goaltending, they're typically hard to beat. And this year they've gotten goaltending.
How good is their power play and their PK?
Well, when you have Nathan McKinnon and Cale Makar on your power play, it's pretty good.
In your humble opinion, does the Stanley Cup champion come out of the West? Is it going to be either Dallas, Minnesota, or the Lanch?
Well, one of those three will be representing the West in the Stanley Cup. I do believe that. I don't think anyone on the other side of the bracket is going to be able to mess with, right? Whether it's, Anaheim is currently up on Edmonton, and Vegas and Utah is now tied at 2 after last night. But none of those 4 teams will compete with Colorado, Minnesota, or Dallas. So it's kind of funny if the Wild or Stars, whoever wins advances, and if that team was able to take down Colorado, their least difficult matchup of the playoffs would presumably be the Western Conference Finals, because they would have had to have gone through either Stars or Wild, and then they had to go through Colorado. But yeah, one of those 3 will represent the West, and I'm assuming whichever of those teams gets into the Stanley Cup Finals, I would probably pick them to win.
Who's the beast in the East? Is there one odds-on favorite, or is it?
I don't know if there is. I mean, before the playoffs, I picked Colorado, and excuse me, Carolina.
Can you make this about a 7-minute answer?
Well, I mostly picked Carolina just because they had the easiest path to get there. They had to face Ottawa in the first round, which clearly wasn't a matchup for them. They swept them. And then they're going to face the winner of Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, which had the 2 worst records of all Eastern Conference playoff teams. And now Pittsburgh, who was down 3-0 in that series, has won the last 2 after last night, so they at least forced a Game 6. But Carolina is going to go through them. So Carolina is going to be in the Eastern Conference Finals, just a matter of who they play. Obviously, I think they'll get a push from whoever comes out the other side of the bracket. Right now, Buffalo's up on Boston, and Montreal and Tampa Bay are tied 2-2. But I would assume I would pick Carolina, but I don't know if Carolina, they have as much depth as anyone, but I don't think their star power can match up with Colorado or even Dallas or Minnesota.
My guess is you're not checking daily attendance figures for each game.
Game 5 is on, and the place to be is Grand Casino Arena. Join the Minnesota Wild for an official Game 5 watch party tonight. It's a free event open to everyone with a valid ticket. First 700 fans get a playoff rally towel. Lock in your free ticket now at KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
I'm sorry. Games tonight in Dallas.
Yes.
Game 6, Thursday night. And it will be necessary because it's 2-2. And is there a time on that one yet? Or have they not?
No time yet. I think they're waiting to find out whether, because Anaheim, Edmonton, I think is supposed to be the only other game that night.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Maybe they're waiting till tonight because the series could be over.
What?
But I'd like to think we should get an earlier game or normal time game regardless, because if it's Edmonton and Anaheim, I'd like to think they'd be later than us.
You would hope.
But it's the NHL. I can't ever guarantee that.
Do you remember when you blew that interview with Gary Bettman?
Oh, yeah. It's derailed my entire career.
PA called you out, took you aside, and said, son, you blew that interview. You did.
Yes.
I didn't want to say it because I'm just not that kind of a guy. Did you, do you have any idea what not the face value of a Wild ticket for the playoff game, but what do you think those tickets, I guess it all depends where in the stadium you are, but I mean, are they 50% higher than face value? And then if you wait till minutes before the game, can you get them on the cheap because the guy's got to dump them, right? And it's 5 minutes before the game starts. How does that work? I've never bought scalp tickets before. Do you have any idea how that works?
I don't know, other than I've looked at ticket prices because my kids have been begging me to go, but they're a little pricey, so I've been holding off.
What are they?
A lot of them are in the $200 to $300 range a pop. I think it's a little expensive when there's, at least 3 of us there.
Yeah, let's say 200 a piece. That's 6. Yeah.
Well, 200 is probably in the small. You're also up in the highest parts of the upper deck too.
Is it like the Midway where if your kid's a certain height, he gets in free? I mean, they don't do that, do they?
I wish.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Here's a text message that came in. It says, Tenna, Colorado had a 25th to 28th ranked power play this season despite all their talent. Also, it's pronounced Colorado, not Colorado. very Minnesotan way to pronounce it. Did you call it Colorado? Colorado?
I don't remember saying Colorado.
Yeah, I don't think
I don't think I've ever pronounced it that way.
But I like that.
I might have made a mistake and said it one time, but I always say Colorado.
Well, I'm going to go with Colorado. I like Colorado. I've never called it that before, and I like the way it rolls off the tongue. I think it's different. I think I've just had a life-changing experience by reading that. Colorado. It's fun to make. Now I know why Rosen does it. That was exciting. It was almost like announcing the 4th-round draft pick for the Minnesota Vikings. He'll go DiVincenzo or DiVincenzo, and then sometimes he'll say Doncic or Doncic. And I was wondering, that's odd. Why would you want to do that? But now I can call it Colorado or Colorado. It's kind of fun. Try it once. Say Colorado once.
Colorado.
Isn't that fun?
Also, those power play numbers are meaningless. You're telling me that you get a playoff series with Colorado, and you wouldn't be scared of their power play?
Sounds like you'd want to go in the penalty box because they won't be able to score. I think the first thing I would do is say, let's play you 5-on-4. That'd throw them off. They wouldn't expect that. I don't know why you wouldn't do that. We have some breaking news, Tenneby. Former Dallas Cowboys quarterback and CBS analyst Tony Romo will have to try another year to make it to the U.S. Open. After he shot a 9 over 79 and missed the cut by 11 shots in a local qualifier, Waco, Romo is among 8 former athletes who are going through the first stage of qualifying for the June 15th through 18th U.S. Open at Shinnecock Hills. Romo, a former winner of the American Century Championship, shot 40-39 in a low-scoring qualifier at Ridgewood Country Club, where Theo Humphrey was medalist with a 66. And 2 under was needed to advance to the final U.S. Open qualifying stage, which Romo last reached in 2010. Tony, I think your day has come and gone. I think he's probably a better golfer than he was a quarterback, right? Was he really? And it's been so long since he played. He was right?
He was a quality quarterback who did not perform in the playoffs. So he kind of got that stigma attached to him. But his regular season numbers were pretty good, probably better than like an Eli Manning's.
How would you, if I said, you say Tony Romo, and then I'll say the first other quarterback that comes to mind, and tell me if this is close. Say Tony Romo.
Tony Romo.
Phil Rivers. I don't know in style or stuff, but, good, but not
I would say like
great.
Kirk Cousins.
Among baseball players who will attempt to advance past.
Also, do you remember my favorite Tony Romo? Remember when he was a holder, and they either missed a field. He dropped for a field goal or an extra point in a playoff game, like early in his career. Lost him the game.
I don't think quarterbacks hold now anymore, do they? Is there a quarterback in the league that's a holder? It's always the punter, isn't it?
Always, yeah. The backup quarterback should hold. Because then you can get some fakes out of it. They have better hands, I'm assuming.
You wouldn't want Troy Williamson to be the holder. That would be big trouble. You'd never get a kickoff. One, because you wouldn't kick the field goal, so you wouldn't kick the ball off. Among baseball players who will attempt to advance past the local qualifiers next week are 2-time All-Star relief pitcher Tyler Clippard, pitcher Shigetoshi Hasegawa, I don't know who that is, and outfielder Aaron Hicks. Did he play for us?
Aaron Hicks, yes.
I didn't know Aaron Hicks had any game.
Yeah, we traded him.
The list also features tennis player Marty Fish. That's JG's guy. Former NFL running back Danny Woodhead and quarterback Drew Olson, who I don't know who Drew Olson is.
I know who Danny Woodhead is. I don't know Drew Olson.
And hockey player JT Miller. Do you know who JT Miller is?
Yeah, he still plays.
Oh, does he?
He was one of those that was at one point was thought to be the Wild that have interest in acquiring at one point. Yeah, he plays for the Rangers.
So he's got plenty of time.
Yeah, they're out of the playoffs.
Yeah, he's got plenty of time to play. I guess he wouldn't be trying if the Rangers were still in. Do you think he
played on the U.S. Olympic team?
Do you think he was secretly happy that because I got to think playoffs because they would have been like, it's the old big fat. Would you rather get drilled in the first round of the NCAA playoffs, or spend big fat stacks of booster provided cash and make it to the NIT Final Four in New York City. And I always say, if I knew I was going to get drilled, I'll take the NIT. If you knew you were going to make it as a 6th seed with the Rangers and get drilled in the first round and then miss your chance to qualify for the U.S. Open or get a chance to go to the qualifier, I think if JT Miller was honest, he'd say, I'd rather try for the qualifier because we're terrible. The Rangers are a terrible team.
They were bad this year.
Hicks is married to former LPGA Tour professional Cheyenne Woods, Tiger Woods' niece. Their 18-hole local qualifiers are next week at various courses except for Hicks, who is at Papago Golf Course in Phoenix on May 11th. Now, I never played Papago, but it's a very popular course in Phoenix. I can guarantee you not one of those former athletes will get to the U.S. Open at Shinnecock Hills. I'd love to see it. You know, Marty Fish, isn't he one of us?
Yes.
And then Hicks is sort of kind of one of us.
Not from here, but yeah, he played for the Twins.
Played for the Twins.
They drafted him.
I'd pull for him, too, if they made it.
That'd be a great story.
If Tony Romo made it, and he won't, but if he ever did, I'd pull for him. I don't, people think like I harbor ill will toward, people think you're jealous. Well, no, I'm not jealous.
Is Thielen not in this qualifier?
I don't know if Thielen tried. I would think
he was on with the Power Trip the other day and was asked about whether he'd want to try to become a professional golfer.
What was his response? Do you remember?
He kind of downplayed it at first, but then made it seem like, well, yeah, if it could happen, I would love it. Yeah.
Well, I heard through the grapevine, and I don't want to put words in his mouth. And let me say this right up front. It's a rumor I heard that he was thinking senior tour because he's got to be. How old is he now? Is he 40? Do you think, or just shy of 40?
He ain't that old, but he's in his 30s.
So that's 50, though. You would think you know. Here's what I'll tell you, Ted. This is what I've been told by people that
he's 35.
35. Yeah, that's senior tour.
Wide receivers don't get to 40 very often.
Senior tour. That's what he's going to work on his game for 15 years and try to make it. And here's what the people that I know that tell me that getting on the senior tour is even harder than the regular tour.
Really?
Well, you know why? It's because the senior tour is kind of real. They don't want young.
Less spots?
They don't. Well, no, they just don't want those group of people. They don't. I think there's less spots. Yeah, but those guys don't want newcomers coming on it. That's where you go to retire when
good old boys club.
Yeah, when you still want to play golf for money, but you can't play on the tour anymore, and so you don't want some young kids coming in at 50 that even if you can beat them, it's a good old boys club there. Well, we wish them all the best. All of these former athletes, and maybe some of them can, maybe one at least.
Steph Curry get in. The Warriors are done.
Well, you already have to sign up for the qualifier earlier, and you can't just all of a sudden say, "Yeah, I want to try for." You have to sign up ahead of time. Let's take a break. Come back. One more segment to go before we turn it over to Big Ticket in JG right here on what we affectionately call FM 100.3, The Fan. Slayer and all their hits. Baby, come back. Any kind of fool could see I was wrong, and I just can't live without you. Slayer. Summer breeze makes me feel fine. Is it blowing through the jasmine in my mind? What the hell does that even mean? I don't know. That's that damn hippie music. Tennessee, I'm going to do a word association. I'm going to read you a name, and then you give me either the proper description or the first thing that comes to mind. Troy Williamson.
Stonehands.
Very good. J.J. McCarthy.
9.
That's what I was going to say, too. Very good. Justin Jefferson.
Jets.
Very good.
Gritty.
How about Rob Thompson?
Rob Thompson?
Yeah. Or Thompson. No P. Thompson. Rob Thompson.
I know a Rob Thomas, who's the lead singer of a 90s band, but
Rob Thompson.
I don't know a Rob Thompson.
Unemployed. He was fired as the Philadelphia Phillies manager. No! Gone after, we haven't even reached May yet, and he's already out of a job. They have high standards, they must, in Philadelphia. They, if this kind of a streak gets you fired, Derek Shelton might not be long for a job either. No! From direct from the Liberty City, Dan Gelston, who writes for Associated Press, says manager Rob Thompson, who led the Phillies to 4 straight playoff appearances, including the 2022 World Series, was fired. He was fired. His job description expired on Tuesday after Philly lost 11-12 and began the day tied for last place in the majors. Bench coach Don Mattingly was named interim manager through the end of the season, and third base coach Dusty Wathan was promoted to bench coach. Mattingly will now officially work for one of his sons. Preston Mattingly is the Phillies general manager. How about that? Got to answer to your kid. Dad, for all those chores you made me do back when I was a little kid. Well, guess what? Shoes on the other foot now. Think about it. What if you have to fire your old man?
That'd be awkward.
Dad, you're fired. You're fired, but he is good through the end of the season, it says. This is believed to be the first father-son GM-manager combination in baseball history. Well, I would think so, but maybe not. Think about if you were it's a word I'm looking for. It's a certain word I'm looking for, but I can't think of what it was. If you were tasked, that's what it was. If you were tasked with that job, Dana, here's what I need you to do. Find out if there's ever been another father-son general manager combination in Major League Baseball history. We need it by deadline, which was yesterday. Go. Do you just say to yourself, if you're like me and you're lazy, or you're like Sauce and you're lazy, you just go, the chances are 0, so I'll just say I looked and there's none. And if somebody finds it, say I must have overlooked it. I can't think it's ever been done before. Thompson went 355 and 270 and led a Philadelphia team loaded with high-priced talent. That included Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, and Trey Turner. I'm not familiar with the Trey Turner character. I'm surprised I knew 2 out of the 3. The 62-year-old Thompson, a baseball lifer, finally promoted to his first managerial stint in 2022, signed a contract extension in the offseason, running through the 2027 season, and was again expected to lead the Phillies into World Series contention. Instead, the Phillies and their $300+ million payroll have been one of the biggest flops in baseball and lost 10 straight games before ace Zach Wheeler. I implored the Twins to go after Zach Wheeler a few years ago. Led them to a win against Atlanta on Saturday. The Phils lost to Atlanta on Sunday, fell to 9-19 overall tie with the division rival, the New York Mets. It's the old... he's not the first manager. Didn't they just fire Alex Cora in Boston? And the players, they were beside themselves. They were bitter with the front office in Boston and ownership. They're like, what are you doing? We got one of the best manager-coaching combinations in all of baseball. Dave Dombrowski. My guess is he's Polish, to me. You would know Molesky, Dombrowski.
All the skis.
The Phillies president, sorry, I snorted there. The Phillies president of baseball operations gave Thompson a vote of confidence last week while they were in the midst of their losing streak. Dombrowski stood behind Thompson's work and said he's been a good manager since replacing Joe Girardi in 2022. I think Joe Girardi used to also play saxophone for the Motels. Dombrowski said Tuesday that he talked to Cora about becoming the next manager. Ooh, talking behind his back. No, that would have been today, so I guess they'd already fired him. Dombrowski said, we never got down to the nuts and bolts of things. He called me Saturday night as a friend. I guess he calls me one of his mentors, and we talked because he never had been through that before. We talked Sunday morning. I came to the conclusion that if he took it, I'd make a change. I thought he would take it until Monday morning. It was apparent from his perspective he wanted to take time with his family. He wanted to be a father first and foremost, so that's what he had decided. Okay. He's been in the playoffs 4 straight years. Did he win the World Series or just went to the World Series? The hell did that say? Hold on. 3 consecutive division titles. I thought it said the World. Oh, yeah. Including the
2022, they lost in the World Series.
So they got to the World Series in his first year, went to the playoffs every year. He got a contract extension during the offseason through 2027, and he was given a vote of confidence by Dave Dombrowski. Well, that doesn't mean anything. The contracts mean nothing. The vote of confidence doesn't mean nothing. And I mean, it's a long season. I know they're a long ways out. It just doesn't, and again, I don't know. Maybe anybody could have managed that club, right? But that just seems a little hasty. I wonder if he's available. Could we hire him? I don't want Derek to lose his job, but I'm just saying if he's available, you never do know. You're getting ripped again. Well, not ripped, but somebody's pushing back.
Correcting my pronunciation on a state.
Well, no, this one says, Tenna, the Avs have 1 power play goal in their 4 postseason games and are ranked third to last this postseason in power play percentage. And we're third last in last season's postseason as well. It's not like teams overall their power play structure just for the postseason. I will say it. I'm not afraid of their power play. The stats and the eye test say so. Dallas is far superior in that regard.
Oh, yeah.
They're pushing back at Tennessee, the Jolly Green Giant.
I wasn't comparing them to the Dallas Stars power play. I've just said they have personnel that I don't care what the stats say. I don't want to put them on the ice in 5-on-4 situations.
Okay.
But you know what? I would love the opportunity to be penalty killing against them because that means the Wild have advanced.
Yeah, that would mean the Wild have advanced. Here's another one. The Tampa Bay Lightning, and that's how he wrote it.
Yeah.
The Tampa Bay Lightning. He actually wrote Tampa Bay. The Tampa Bay Lightning have the longest current sellout streak at 417 games. Plus, Lord Stanley's Cup resided in the Sunshine State in 4 of the last 6 years. Florida is the state of hockey. I can't argue with that. I know that's sacrilegious
How's
because
the Florida Panthers attendance, even though they've had some really good teams.
I know because, our state is surrounded by a blue line. I get that. And I know we cut our teeth in the penalty box and our moms were the referees. But it seems like, at least professionally, Florida is the state of hockey.
Well, yeah. I mean, Tampa Bay Lightning has been borderline a dynasty. The Florida Panthers have won a couple cups in a row. So, yeah, they've been great. And that's going to lead to attendance because your teams are really good. We'll see how they do when the teams are towards the basement.
Yeah, we'll see.
The Minnesota Wild are selling out and have, gotten past the first round twice in the last 20 years?
Let me ask you a question about tonight's game. What if the Wild were to get out to a 2-0 lead?
I think it's probably best just keep it scoreless as long as possible.
It's always good to have the lead, PA, but... It's always good to have the lead, but...
I always love that one.
You don't want a 2-0 lead in this game. No,
it's...
Last thing you want.
You know what I like when people... Is this they're hitting the wrong letters? And, sometimes, like if you're going to send something to Common, most I guess your phone doesn't think you're in touch with the rapper Common, right? So oftentimes it'll be Carmen. I love that. Carmen, in regards to your back itching and nerve issues, ask your dentist for a prescription of Valcyclovir. It's a herpes medication, but it's also an antiviral. It can work for shingles, as I've used it several times. I've been using it for years. I was born with cold sore issues throughout my life. Give it a shot. Mike, the HVAC guy. I was thinking maybe ivermectin. Give that a shot. I mean, what do you got to lose? Right? I think I don't want to use, I'm not just going to go to my dentist and say, hey, can you load me up with some valcyclovir? First of all, they're going to say, well, what do you need it for? Well, I got a back issue. Well, they're going to tell me, well, go see a chiropractor. I mean, it's not going to work that way. I appreciate, though, the suggestion. Maybe I'll ask. Maybe I'll look up valcyclovir sounds like an actor, or maybe an actress. It's hard to know sometimes. Just ask Mark Rosen that. Here's another response to another controversial question here. This is Mark from Crystal. Mark writes, the reasons that punters hold for kicks is they have the available practice time to work with the long snapper and the kicker. Tend to be, listen to this. This doesn't make sense. The reasons punters hold for kicks is that they have the available practice time to work with the long snapper, and they're used to receiving the long snaps as a punter, so they're really good at it. So that does make sense. So that answers our question. You learn something new every day. I'm with you. I kind of like the quarterback because you got the, you can do the...
You can do some fakes.
You can do the trickaroo.
Yeah, they can threaten them a little bit.
Yeah, you can actually threaten them there.
Though I suppose it's not as... you can't do it as much as you once did just because the extra points are so far back now.
Yeah.
Like back when they're in the 2-yard line, you can throw some fakes and get some 2-point conversions there. But
Chris writes that Thielen said he wants to try to qualify for some pro tournaments, but seemed to realize being on the PGA Tour was not feasible. And that he's spot on there. You and I have had that discussion forever. It's just really, really hard. These guys do it, but they've been playing their entire lives. Just like, and I know they're different sports, and you can say this is apples and oranges, but that would be like, Rory McIlroy was saying, I think I want to play defensive back in pro football. It's like, you can't just, and really, to be honest, it's more difficult to be a professional golfer than it is to be a defensive back in the National Football League. So that's not going to happen there either. Then I saw one other text message that piqued my curiosity. Hold on. Where did it go? No, I guess that was the one, I think. This one, it said, he goes, the dynamics of the senior tour are interesting. A good old boys club, like you mentioned, the decline of play as senior tour members get older, combined with the influx of 50-year-olds who are in good shape, tour players, club pros, and a handful of average Joes with daytime jobs that have -4 handicaps. If you're a legitimate great club pro who just turned 50, there's money to be made on the senior tour. Yeah, but still, it's. I think they don't have like a Q school. I don't think you can get on unless I don't know how you even make it on there anymore. I got to be honest with you. I don't know how you do, because there's no senior, as far as I know, there are no senior. There's not a senior tour school. It's not like he doesn't go, I'm going to go to Q school and get on the senior tour. I don't think it works that way. Wolves lost last night, as I think everybody's well aware, without Ant and without DiVincenzo in the lineup. The Wolves, and I'm not saying they don't believe this. I mean, I didn't watch the second half. You could tell after the first half it was pretty much donezo. But Fish Wrap Factory West Side, Chris Hine wrote the story. Timberwolves don't feel defeated. They blame themselves for the Game 5 loss. Sloppy play that led to 25 turnovers forces the Wolves to return to target to finish off the Nuggets if they can. Wolves committed 25 turnovers, an eyesore amount that they equaled only once during the regular season. And it doesn't take a deep statistical analysis to know that their sloppiness cost them the game. The Nuggets converted those turnovers into 35 points, limiting the effectiveness of the resurgent Wolves defense, which had done a commendable job keeping Denver down as the Wolves beat their lead. Here's what Mike Conley said. They were uncharacteristic. we were just a little bit chaotic at times of spacing, not just reading the game like we should, and just mental lapses out there more than anything. Io said they didn't change their defense schematics, their defensive schematics between the first 4 games. So we have to be able to take advantage of that. It might just be making the right play. You might not shoot the ball 4 or 5 possessions, and you've got to be okay with that because the way they're guarding us, we know where we can get our shots. Back to Conley says, you've got to come into the game more prepared on where you're going to get your coverages as far as who's going to be doubled, who's going to be open. What opportunities can we get a swing to the corner where we can be effective? We can't force it. Don't try to find your shot too often. I thought nobody on Denver played defense. Here they're talking about defensive strategies by Denver, and they weren't able to solve it. And McDaniels told us that none of them play defense. They're all terrible defenders, each and every one of them. Well, why are we worried about that? Why don't we just play our game? My guess is there was probably a little bit of feeling sorry for themselves because they got off to such a great start. I mean, I was surprised. I picked Denver to win the series. I thought Denver would win. I was so disgusted with the lack of effort through most of the season that I just thought, well, they can't just flip it like a switch, but apparently they can because they came out and they were in total control. They were the better team. That's how they built a 3-1 lead. And they even built that 3-1 lead when they lost DiVincenzo a minute into the game 4. And then Ant, I don't remember exactly when he exited, but it was sometime in the first half with his knee injury. And I think a lot of that second half was you're in the moment. You've lost 2 guys. You know where you are. And I think the adrenaline and then Io, because he had a career day, he was unconscious. They were able to get by Denver. But then a couple days goes by, or a day or whatever it was, 2 days between games. And all of a sudden you go, okay. Now we're without Ant's out at least for the rest of this series, it looks like. Maybe more. We know DiVincenzo, who's been a dog, as LaBelle called him the other day in his piece. He's a dog, and that's a good thing, is what LaBelle reminded us. And so maybe there's a little bit of feeling sorry for yourself there. And then maybe, you got to think Denver's thinking to themselves, we've been given a gift. And I don't think they're like, well, I'm glad those guys got hurt. That gives us a better chance. I don't think sorry, I'm choking up here. I'm getting so emotional. I would like to believe that most players on every team don't, they're not like, hey, I'm glad he got injured. It makes it easier for us. I think they'd rather beat the best. If a guy gets injured, so be it, right? That's the way it is. Nothing can do it. But they're probably thinking to themselves, we got gifted a little bit here, guys. We were getting it handed to us. We were getting embarrassed. We're not as good as we thought we were, or they're better.
Give some hope.
Yeah, we were better than we thought they were. They're better than we thought they were, and we're not as good as we thought we were. Did that make sense? You know what I'm trying to say. Yeah. But now all of a sudden they're missing 2 guys. We've got new life. It's going to be hard. We're down 3-1, but taking a game at a time, take this one at home, steal one in Minnesota. We're back in the driver's seat. So you got that going for Denver. They're probably coming out with a little bit of added incentive because it's not like all is lost. And then the Wolves probably finally dawned on them. We're without 2 of our best players. We'll see. They can make a fool out of me by winning on their next time out. So that would be, I think, Wednesday or Thursday, whatever the case may be. Well, Tanby, thanks for having me.
Hey, great job.
You as well. I thought you did a bang-up job, particularly on the. Thanks for going the extra yard on all the montages, doing them on a gamely basis, which is a good thing.
We'll have a wild one tomorrow at noon.
It'll be sweet. We'll be looking forward to it. And Rock Talk tomorrow with Brian Oak at 1:15. We enjoyed our visit. We're back tomorrow at noon with the montage. Big Ticket JG there next year on The Fan.
Good night. Good morning. Good afternoon. And good night, Minnesota. And good night, folks. And good night, Mrs. Calabash. Wherever you are.
Listen back to any of of Common Man's programs by podcasting on the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.